Dobre den, good day. This is Andrew, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about the time that I spent in Vanuatu because I mentioned in a couple prior shorts and in the description of this video about my time living with former cannibals and the time with bush people. And so I'd like to tell you a little bit about that experience and what I learned from it and how it relates to modern questions about economic systems and all of that noise. Now, one of the things we always hear is the tired trope that the white man oppressed the indigenous peoples by bringing capitalism through colonialism, etc. But we know that capitalism has been practiced in some form in Vanuatu for a really, really long time, long before the white man ever got there. For instance, this pig tusk that I'm wearing around my neck, this was actually given to me by the family of Marianne Sokomanu, who is the daughter of the founding president. But this pig tusk is actually currency. This is actual money on some of the northern islands. On the southern island of Erromango, they used fossilized shell, and I'm going to put a link in the description of Vanuatu's piggy bank. It's a story by an Australian news agency about the use of custom currency there. So things were long produced that had exchange value, that had a store of wealth and value within them. Now, the country actually got its independence in 1980, and Father Walter Linney was the founding prime minister, and he was influenced by the African leaders at the time who wanted an African socialism, and so he was kind of promoting a Melanesian socialism because he wanted the customs and culture and practices of the village to be reflected in the government, and they sort of had a communal lifestyle. But what I kind of observed there, I did a previous video in which I did an impression of Slavoj Žižek, and Slavoj Žižek in some of his lectures talks about capitalism with Asian values, which is the authoritarian capitalism that we see coming out of China and Singapore. And so I would like to coin the term, if no one has said it before, I think I'm the first one to actually put it out there, is capitalism with Melanesian values is what actually goes on in these villages. And so it may appear like a socialism. However, it's still capitalistic in practice. It's simply that you are considered wealthy based upon how much you give away rather than how much you keep. And they even have reconciliation ceremonies between villages that had scruples with each other. And they will spend themselves into bankruptcy and slaughter all their pigs and give away all of their kava and sugarcane in order to show how wealthy they are and how much they're willing to give. And that also depletes all their resources, and so it takes these former feuding villages and forces them to work together in order to rebuild the economic prosperity. Now, Vitaliy Buterin has really recently talked about how there should be ways other than buying super yachts for the rich to signal their wealth and build their social credit score and whatnot. And so he envisions even using Etherium as a way to do it, of course, to have sort of social programs, maybe feeding the poor wretches in whatever country, and that these are giving you loans or what have you. And that would be a way for them to signal their wealth, is by doing good things and giving this away. And I wonder if he knows in practice that he is promoting sort of a capitalism with Melanesian values by doing that. Now, can we achieve that in a society with millions and millions of people? Because this is allowed to exist out there because they're communities of 200 to 300 people in some of these villages, and everyone you know, everyone you depend on, your future is inextricably linked to these few dozen families, these couple hundred people. And we often scoff at, I don't want to live in a small town because they gossip and everybody knows your business. Well, when you grow up in such a community, everyone knows each other super well. When there's a task to be done, they know who's assigned to it. They essentially know what everybody's doing almost every minute of the day. So you sort of sacrifice some privacy for the social bonds that you get out of being so close with so many people out of proximity, because it's really sort of you against the world when you're dependent on that unit for your very survival and you're linked together that strongly. It's much easier to give away your wealth. That keeps things circulating as well, which is also what creates a good, strong economy, is when the wealth constantly moves around. It gives the incentive for people to pass it around. So if somebody has like 10 pigs and there is a wedding and he only gives them one, well, he would be looked at like a crazy person, because what do you need all those pigs for? They're just starting a family. And so that's kind of how what is really very capitalistic in that regard can sort of be seen as a socialism, but there is no real mandated putting your things in a pool. The chief doesn't force you to do whatever. So in that regard, as far as the ability to own and possess private property and stuff, it's not socialist on the village level at all. So those are just some of my thoughts. There's a whole heck of a lot of other stuff beyond this. If you guys have any questions about it or comments on it, please put those in the comments section. If you thought this was kind of juicy, please click the like. And for more videos like this, please subscribe. I also talk about off-grid building projects, animal husbandry. I raise monitor lizards, and I do a lot of crazy, wacky voiceover stuff on the shorts. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you again in the near future. Thanks so much for tuning in, and ta-ta and farewell.